In This League presents Player Debates 2020. Fantasy baseball's biggest decisions. Player versus player. Debated by Chris Welsh and Scott Bogman. Here's today's debate. Juan Soto's 2019 saw him hit .282 with 35 homers, 110 runs, 110 RBIs with 12 stolen bases. He was one of 4 players with 30 homers, 100 runs and RBIs, and 10 stolen bases. One of 11 players with 30 homers with 100 on the RBIs and runs. He finished top 10 in OPS at .949, 5th in walks with 108 of them, plus top 20 on the season in ISO at .266. Steamer projections for Juan Soto have him hitting a higher average in 2020 at .291. The same homers of 34 with 96 runs, 99 RBIs, and 9 stolen bases. Alex Bregman in 2019 with 41 homers, 122 runs, 112 RBIs, 5 stolen bases with a .296 batting average. Third in baseball with a .423 OBP, third in walk percentage at 17.2%. Also led Major League Baseball in walks at 119. He was one of 6 qualified with an OPS over 1,000, top 10 in ISO at .296, and the third best swinging strike percentage in baseball at 4.6%. 2020 Steamer has Alex Bregman's homers dropping down to 32, but 108 runs, 99 RBIs, 6 stolen bases, and a .287 average. Debating for Juan Soto, here's Scott Bogman.
I don't know if you guys heard, but Juan Soto was 20 years old all last year. He's 21 now, but during the World Series, he was 20. Welsh, did you know he was 20? He's 20.
Breaking news.
You could barely buy beer. So let's just start out with he was 20, and now he's 21. Most things are close to equal between these two. Bregman has the advantage in average at 14 points. He had 12 more runs, 7 more homers, 2 more RBI. Those were all in Bregman's favor. And 8 stolen bases were in Soto's favor. Now, the 8 stolen bases are probably not equal to all the small advantages that Bregman has. But the fact that Soto is still improving as he just turned 21. I don't know if you guys knew that. Just turned 21. And the fact that the Astros don't run anymore has enough to give Soto the advantage in this debate. The Nationals were third in baseball in stolen bases last year, 116. And as Soto gets more proficient and older, because he's 21 now, in stealing bases, 12 of 13 in 2019, he should be able to run more often. The Astros don't run anymore. They were 17th last year. They had 67 stolen bases. The playoff run also showed the streakiness of Bregman. And last year, he had big splits. 350 to 274 lefty-righty, 278, 315 home road. And his worst month of July, where he hit 233, was next to his best month of August at 404. Obviously, that matters more in head-to-head, but it's worth mentioning. For the more advanced stats, if you're looking for that stuff, Soto beats Bregman in barrel percentage, 7.7, which was 62nd, not great, but 3.8% for Bregman, 289th. Exit velocity, where Soto averaged 91.3, which was 42nd in the bigs, to 89.3 for Bregman, 156. And hard hit percentage, 47.8, which made him 27th, to 37.5% for Bregman, 219th. The underlying numbers and the youth, 21, give Soto the advantage, in my opinion, in this debate.
Debating for Alex Bregman, here's Chris Welsh.
Well, thank you again, ladies and gentlemen, for your time. I don't know if you know this, but Alex Bregman is 25 years old. Bogman, had you heard 25 for Alex Bregman? That's young, right?
How old is he? 25?
25 years old. He can legally rent a car from Hertz. It's amazing. But the continued rise of Bregman hit a top in 2019. He finished as a top 10 fantasy player in like a standard 5x5. Top 5 in runs, and he was one of only 6 hitters with 40-plus homers, 100 runs with 100 RBIs, and only one of 2 that had multi-position eligibility. That's important here. Bregman started the year off with a .260 average, right in that range in the first half, but he was able to hit 23 homers while that average dragged. In the second half, complete breakout. A .330-plus average, 18 more homers on top of it, and he also walked more than he struck out in the second half, 56 walks to 52 strikeouts. If we want to talk about the value of Bregman's hits as well, though he had some big average splits on the halves, he finished with the third best qualified WOBA at .418, only behind Yelich and Trout. He finished inside the top 25 with average launch angle at 19.6. The only other batters in the top 25 to be valued as a top 100 player in that launch angle were Trout, Ramirez, Rhys Hoskins, and Bregman. He was one of only 7 qualified batters with a 400-plus OBP, but the only one that averaged a walk percentage higher than his K percentage, and that walk percentage, which was 17.2%, was the second highest. Did I mention that K rate that he had was the lowest of those 7? Multi-years of 100 runs RBIs with 30-plus homers, high walk rates, low strikeout rates, and the ability to maximize his hits via launch angle. Even if he didn't crush the ball, then you add on position eligibility. Bregman just makes sense, ladies and gentlemen. Bregman in 2020, because you can dream on the future, or you can win with the present.
Player Debates 2020.
All right, it is open forum, town hall forum, if you will, on Bregman versus Soto, Boggs.
We're doing taglines now?
This is a
I
debate.
didn't know we were doing taglines.
I mean, I don't know what to tell you. Alex Bregman has got a better campaign manager that he can put out
Yes, we can just turn 21. How about that?
Yes, we can drink. We can drink.
Yes, we can consume liquor.
So this is a really interesting one, not just because, first off, it was super fun that both of these guys hit homers and they walked their bat to first base and they had like a nice little thing going on. They're two of the biggest, young up-and-coming hitters. But what's so fascinating about this, Bogman, is if you look statistically, Bregman almost takes everything across the board. Right. It's hard to argue for Soto over Bregman. What's more fascinating about this is when we initially did this, I screwed up and I wrote up Soto. Like I had Bregman, you wrote up Soto, I wrote up Soto, and then when we got ready, I went, oh crap, I'm supposed to write Bregman. But something really fascinating happened out of this, and I want to bring this to the table as the first kind of conversation piece, because Bregman, statistically across the board, he really opens it up outside of stolen bases. There's some, some of the underlying things that I brought up, like WOBA, being the third highest in all of baseball, the on-base percentage, the strikeouts, that's all interesting. But I found something that really concerned me when I had to dig, because you did Soto. You have to dig. You brought up one of the things where the hard hit percentage was drastically different between these two. 37% for Bregman, 47.7% for Soto. There was the barrel events in general. The percentages equaled these barrel events, where Soto had double the barrel events that Bregman had. So after bringing up those hard hit percentage, I wrote this. I said, if you look at the average home run distance, those hard hit percentages could be a concern. Soto averaged a home run distance in 2019 of 403 feet. Over 200 other batters had that 400-plus average. But Alex Bregman had a distance average of only 382. The MLB average was 397 for a homer. For perspective, J.P. Crawford and Delino DeShields had a average home run distance of 284. So it's picking apart some stuff here, Boggs. But even though I'm defending for Bregman, for some reason, I found that very concerning for long, sustainable home runs. Even though the guy has a top 25 launch angle, a 382 average home run distance feels like there's a lot of home run luck that's involved there.
Well, it's the Crawford boxes. You got to remember that in Houston, it's that short porch.
25 of those homers were on the road.
Okay, but a lot of those are going to be short porch. It just means he's pulling down the line, and that's fine. Maybe he doesn't hit 40 homers again. I think it's funny because I defended for Soto in the debate, but I think I'm going to go with Bregman here because the walk percentage stuff too, and the low swinging strike rate, third best in Major League Baseball in swinging strike rate, which means he keeps that. He's not getting the angle, the awesome launch angle, that looping swing that Juan Soto is. So he's not going to hit every ball as hard, but he's going to have more hits, which led to 14 points higher in batting average. Plus, you got to consider the lineup. And I know both these teams were just in the World Series, so they both have very good lineups, but it's hard to say that Bregman doesn't hit in the best lineup in baseball.
Well, he really benefited when he was hitting 4 on the lineup as well. When you go through, I think he was hitting like 400, like around 400 when he was batting in the 4 spot. Going through so here's an example. I picked Soto in the CBS mock draft at 9. The more that I've gone through this process now and we've done this debate, I do think I'm with you. I think I lean on Bregman because it's kind of astonishing. WOBA values has a different valuation for hits, and to be third highest, I believe there was I don't know if I wrote this down, but there were only so many that had a 400 plus WOBA, and for Bregman to be in the top 3 with only Yelich at 1 and Trout at 2, you look at that, you look at his ability to launch the ball. So maybe he doesn't have a super high distance on his average home run ball, which he doesn't, by the way. It's super low. It's way post 200.
He's still top 10 in ISO.
Yeah, well, and that's what I'm talking about. Like, the barrel events are, a little bit of a concern as well. But still, at the same point, he is able to launch the ball. He maximizes his hits. And when you go and look at him being on the top end of most statistical categories, top 5 in runs. He's up there with Woba. I mean, he was a top, he did steal double-digit stolen bases the year prior. They stopped to steal a little bit. Even if you take away some of the homers and they come down, sub 40 and they're into like the high 33s, but you're 100 with multi-position eligibility, it makes Alex Bregman kind of actually one of the top floor players to me. I mean, the guy walks more than he strikes out. So this is just a pure hitter that maybe doesn't have the same raw power as Juan Soto, where Soto at the same time, though, Boggs, one of the things I looked at when he struggled, because these guys are on a different trajectory. Soto struggled a bit in the second half, dropping his average around 260, where Bregman was 330 plus. Soto, in that time, though, hit 4 more homers in 8 less games in the second half. And when he was struggling with his batting average, upped his walk percent from 14 to 18%. So Soto actually signifies a lot of the positive things we see in Alex Bregman. But I guess like what you were saying before, I think it's hard to pass up Bregman. You take the multi-position eligibility, you take the floor, you might take a little bit of hit in maybe home runs, and maybe there's a tiny dip in stolen bases, but the position eligibility and the floor of Bregman, I think this is one of the first debates, even though we've only done a couple here, that actually has changed my tune to where I was drafting. I don't see how you don't take Alex Bregman in the top 12 unless you see that, average home run distance and you see regression in his future, which I don't know where you're picking the regression from, Boggs, because doesn't have a high BABIP. Where is the regression coming from outside of maybe just, a little bit less luck on the homers? I don't know how you can make the argument if he still hits 35. If you think he's going to drop down to 38, okay. But I think this has actually flipped me to moving Bregman above Soto.
Yeah, and I'm okay with it being kind of a split because of, I mentioned the streakiness of Bregman, and if you had him in the first half, his first half wasn't nearly as good as the second half. So maybe if you want to split this where you're taking Juan Soto in a head-to-head because he's not as crazy streaky. He did slow down at the end, like Welsh said, and Bregman was great, which also helps. But in the long run, when you're taking it in little clips at a time, he's either going to drag you down or boost you up. And if you want just a more level player, maybe you go with Juan Soto in a head-to-head and Bregman in a roto. But I think I like Bregman in both spots. He's just he's incredibly he's still young too. 21 is incredibly young, but 25 is still not hitting your peak. They say most of the time the peak is between 26 to 28. It used to be like 29 to 31, but it's a little bit younger now, so he's jumping right into that too. So I think I'm on the Bregman side pretty good, but Soto is amazing. It's not taking anything away from him at all.
I think these two are razor thin, and I don't think you can discount that Juan Soto, the level of adjustments he's made at his age. If you didn't know, he's 21 now, if you hadn't heard.
How old is he?
He's 21.
What was it?
The level of adjustments he's made it's otherworldly, especially for like when you struggle with your batting average and you're able to up your walk percent, you're still hitting homers. Also, Soto led the playoffs, all players in the playoffs in homers. He was second in RBIs. Like, this is a guy that I think this year can step into 40 homers and can be 100. The stolen bases are a factor here, but I think Bregman is going to take the batting average by a decent amount. I don't think the homers are different enough, and I don't think Soto steals enough for Soto to take the jump over Bregman's floor and position eligibility. So it's razor thin. I could make an argument both ways, but I think I do lead Bregman a little bit, but I do feel there's a reduction in homers coming. So I might flip-flop a little bit on this one as we move into the season, but I battle for Bregman. I'm taking him. You battle for... Actually, we technically both wrote up both of these guys, kind of, because I wrote up Soto as well. But we're both going to take Bregman. It was a good battle for Soto. But we ask you now, my friends, what say you?
Player Debates 2020, brought to you by In This League. Check us out at patreon.com/ITL Army today. Find your Player Debate 2020 poll results and special debates only at patreon.com/ITL Army.